I don't know. Do you know what?
What's that?
This is going to be a lot more fun. We've got a lot more room to do
I think you're right.
things. And we can change the backgrounds to whatever we want to change them to.
Yes,
Okay.
we've been promoted to the better studio, haven't
Yes, this is going to be our first time ever shooting in our
Yeah.
studio, so I think that it's going to be nicer in itself.
we? Yeah, that's true.
You can look up at the screens because that means we're not ready to start.
Yes, but I'm part Mockingbird.
What part?
I don't know.
Upper or lower part?
I think the beak.
No. I have to talk to the doctor about getting that removed.
That might be true.
All right. You ready, Dr. Phil? Oh, he's got to go use the ladies' room again.
Oh, I don't mind him using the ladies' room, but he keeps putting the seat up.
I know. Leaving the seat up?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got some other people that do that too.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay.
You're talking about me, aren't you?
Yeah, we're talking about you, Dr. Phil.
Hi, GenderBlenders. Welcome to week 164. This week's question, do you regret transition? And what would you do if you had to start all over again? To me, that's two very, very different questions. So let's address them a little bit separately.
Okay.
Do I regret transition? Nope. Not even for an instant. To me, that would be like asking, do I regret being myself? And no, of course I don't regret being myself. So there's no regret in the transition. I honestly don't understand how you could become yourself and then regret it.
Well, I don't either. You know, I've heard that, and I've seen a couple of people on videos that have acted as if they had some regret and are regretting their transition, regretting having had their operations, and are trying to tell people, oh, don't go do this, it's a big mistake, so on and so forth. And it was a mistake for them because they weren't actually transsexual. And a lot of people who consider themselves to be transgendered probably are not transsexual, which is why transgender people are separate from transsexuals, and transsexuals need to be not calling themselves transgendered people.
Yeah.
Because transgendered people do it out of a choice, a thing that they desire, a thing that they desire to have. Believe me, I have never desired or ever wanted to be, but I just was born being a transsexual. And, you know, being born transsexual is what you are. It's not something you can turn off and turn on. I mean, I do know that there are people who are in a financial position where sometimes they find it hard to afford their medications and or to find it hard to afford to have their corrective surgeries. But transition is a long process, and it's never been cheap. It's not cheap because of the fact that our society for a long time never observed us as being who we were, and didn't understand that transsexual is a precise medical condition.
Yeah.
It's a physical way that you are from birth. That is not how all transgender people are, but it is how all transsexuals are.
Yeah.
So there are some differences. And one of the other things that transgendered people versus transsexuals look at, they're not bothered by SRS, which is sexual reassignment surgery, because basically maybe that's exactly what they're doing. But for a transsexual, you're not getting your gender reassigned.
No, you're getting
yourself right, which is why it should be called gender corrective surgery and not sexual reassignment surgery. Because transsexuals don't get themselves reassigned. They get themselves corrected, and there's a big difference. People don't want to look at the fact that, hey, yeah, I was a guy at one point in time. Because I have no experience at being a guy. The only experience I have is at having pretended.
Yeah.
Other than that, I am so, since I've been corrected, so happy with that I've never had to add any regrets. I mean, how can you regret being yourself?
You can't.
I mean, I have a mom. She doesn't regret being herself. I have other sisters, we have our other sisters, they don't regret being themselves.
That's right.
And had they have been, you know, anything else other than being themselves, they would have found that very difficult. And that's the difficulty that we find in transsexualism. Regretting transition is becoming yourself. It's not a fad that once you've done it, and so on and so forth, then it gets old and then you just want to go back and you find out that you can't. That's why you shouldn't be going and having it in the first place. That is why, to me, there's a difference between a gender identification disorder. Transsexuals don't have a disorder, and that is the one thing, the one parable, because you get those letters from the therapists,
Right.
because we all need to have those, to get, even for those of us who are transsexuals, to get our corrective surgery. So what happens? We get looked at as if, okay, well, yeah, well, you still had to have the same GID letter.
Mm-hmm.
Well, no, not actually.
Yeah.
Okay. We had to get a letter stating the fact that, in fact, we considered ourselves as being female. Yes. We had to get a letter from the doctor stating the fact that we had gone through our we'd gone through our beginning stages of transition, as per Hoyle. I had my letter in what? 20 minutes?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
20 minutes later, I walked out with my letter for having my operation that was necessary. Because I'm transsexual, not transgender. They didn't need to give me a GID diagnosis. And I was commissioned in Ohio. You know, so, you know, by a psychologist to go out and see if any of them were, in fact, following the standards of care upon which I only found 2 out of 8 that I went and tested. And they really weren't. They said they were, but they really weren't following the WPATH standards of care. So how would you describe the differences between, you know, how it was with you prior to transition and how it is now that you have transitioned?
Let's use a television analogy for that one. You know, my previous life was like living my life with a snowy picture on an old black and white TV set with really poor sound. And my new life, my current life, my correct life, as myself. And now seeing a 70-inch, full color, maybe 3D, and hearing and surround sound.
Can we get one?
Maybe, just maybe. So which would you prefer?
Yeah.
The old black and white crap, or a nice, clean, beautiful 70-inch color TV?
Yeah.
What a difference.
So, in transitioning, what would you have done differently if you'd have had the choice?
Wow. The obvious. Figure myself out earlier and start sooner. That is, younger.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, that would have been the only thing that I would have done as far as starting sooner. I would have started sooner if laws had allowed it, and we had found each other sooner. And I think we would have really looked for each other sooner if we had that option.
Yeah.
But,
well, that's the thing. I would have gotten my sis out here sooner.
Yeah. And also, WPATH does state that we can do a declaration of gender change complete.
Yep.
Even without having the surgeries.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of people who they realize that right now, especially with the capitalism here in the United States, that the other people cannot afford to get their gender corrective surgeries. They can just barely afford to get their FFS and get facial hair removal via with electrolysis or with laser.
Yeah.
So that's pretty expensive, and hopefully one of these days our medical society are going to join hands with the rest of the world and say, we got to allow these people to come in and have their surgeries, make payments to us or whatever, make it so that it's affordable for all those who truly need it.
Exactly.
Okay, because there's a lot of people that give up. There's a lot of suicides and stuff like that because people want to be correct, and they say there's no light. They don't see any light at the end of the tunnel, and that's that can be very dangerous for them. So, I think that's one thing. To get your official documents changed.
Oh, absolutely.
Too.
Change the documents
Make it simple.
earlier.
I think they ought to make it simple because there's so many documents you've got to get changed. It ought to be something that you just get a 1 letter for, send it out to everyone.
Yeah, like for example, in my passport, I still have that stupid thin passport.
Temporary
So
thing.
I have to go and do it again
Yeah.
for the permanent.
Yeah, but they're letting you have that for free. now.
That's for free, of
But
course.
now,
But,
for sure, if you could
but
have
you
gotten
gotta go do it.
But if you could have gotten the Declaration of Gender Change complete sooner,
Yeah, that
if you'd have
would've
known
been-
about it, you could have gotten that, and
Exactly.
then
So
you
that's-
wouldn't have been stuck with the temporary one right now.
That is exactly
So-
what I would have. That's one of the things that I would have done differently.
Which reminds you need to get that taken care
Yeah, I
of.
do.
do.
Yeah, I do.
So
Because it expires this year, so I have to get that done.
yeah, so
And let's see, what else would I've done? Got my sister out here centered.
yeah, yeah, that's
So-
true.
Started hair removal. We talked about that just a little
Yeah.
bit, just briefly a
Getting
minute
hair-
ago.
Yes.
But get hair removal done, and that's one thing I just didn't do.
And any cosmetic surgery.
And cosmetic surgery
Yeah.
and things like that.
Yeah.
It's just. I get, how many times do you hear me say I'm the old grandmother type?
Yeah.
Although it's in one sense it's flattering, in another sense it's very degrading because
Yeah.
I don't want to consider myself an old grandmother.
I don't consider you a grandmother. I consider you
Right.
my sister. So
Yeah.
you can't grandma me. Huh.
Yeah. And
So,
did I mention I would have gotten my sister out here? So
yes, you mentioned that. But myself,
what
I
about
would
you?
have definitely gotten started sooner, obviously. Perhaps if today was like, or if yesterday had been like today, I could have came out much sooner and been myself, and it wouldn't have been this big struggle all my life. People don't understand that. There's a difference between selfishness, and a lot of times they look at things in reverse and turn around and look at it and say, well, aren't you being a bit selfish because you were hurting everybody else? Honey, if my sister Brenda, our sister Brenda, could would have been hurting anyone to been Brenda,
Right.
then that would have been different. But she wasn't. She was being herself. And I'm being myself. I wasn't for a long time. I was permitting. Then I was being kind of selfish because I wasn't being myself.
Mm-hmm.
But for other people to turn around and say, well, if you are transitioning and becoming someone whom we don't know, then that's unfair to us. And that just doesn't get it because we're not
That's
being
exactly right.
yeah, because we're not being unfair to them.
No.
We're being fair to ourselves, and they're being selfish. It is the other tights, the shoes on the other foot. It is them being selfish because they don't want you to be you. But they don't have any problems with themselves being themselves. Ask them
Mhm.
not to be themselves, and they'll go, well, you're crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So why are we crazy if being ourselves is acceptable, should be acceptable for us? So, there's kind of a catch-22 there where people look things in the opposite and try to make you guilty for something that they're guilty of doing themselves.
Exactly.
Yeah, so, other than that, would I've done anything else sooner? Well, yeah, all of the things that are involved in transitioning, I would have been getting done at a much earlier age, and wish I could have. But, it just wasn't possible, and it wasn't practical at the time. And laws didn't allow for it. So, that's in the past, and there's nothing I can do. You can't change the past. My one saying is
Yeah, I love that saying. Go for it.
I have my favorite saying,
Tell us.
and that is that you can't back up in life, but you can change the past by focusing on what will be behind you tomorrow. So, I think that's a very good saying.
Think about it, people. That's a really beautiful saying.
So, but in any case, I'm Stephenie.
I'm Stephie.
You guys take care, and we'll see you.
Bye-bye, everyone.